markers. If you want to make a new one, and I'll explain what they are in a second, but if you want to make a new one, press the M key on your keyboard. If you want to rename it, hold right control and press M. And rename it to, we're going to rename it into Blender right here. So what you're going to expect is that, yes, sound effect data can be baked into animations.
Mm-hmm.
What we're also going to do is we're going to, we're going to rename this to not start. We want start to be where it starts. We want to rename this to blend in 20, and that's going to have a silly effect, and you're going to like it. We're going to name this to blend in 20. And just based off the names, you could probably guess what's going to happen. What do you guys predict will happen now that we renamed the blend in and blend out things?
Well, blend in and blend out is supposed to make things smoother.
Yep.
When it blends the keyframes in between
yep,
each
exactly.
other.
So now it takes longer for the arms to go into the position that they were in, and it takes longer for the arms to go back to the position that they were in before. I don't know why the sound's not playing though. I found sound effects though. Anyway, sound should be playing too. I don't know why it's not. Sound effects aren't playing, probably because they're not in the fucking right order in Nifskope. But now that you've gotten the basics of markers, you need to know that Blender will put them in a random order, or it will put the markers in an order in Nifskope in which they were created. If you want to manually edit the bone priorities, which you saw here under the bone tab, you can do that in Nifskope if you so please. Just go to click on Knee Controlled Sequence, click on Controlled Blocks, and just select and as you can see, we only have as many bones as we have channels here. And that's by design. So there's no legs, we don't have to worry about the spine or the head, it's just all arms and the movement node. So we're going to go ahead and set this to 99, which means that it's going to take priority over all other animations. So that's cool by me. But markers, yes, markers are a bitch. Go into knee text extra data and figure out why this shit isn't working. But yeah, you can go ahead and edit your markers in here. Markers are represented by a time and the text value. The time represents where it is on the timeline. Here, we'll undo a few times and go back to what we had before. So this is 0, this is 1, this should be around 0.5, and that's what you might expect to see. So 0, 1, 0.5. Now, you're in Nifskope, and you have your markers. Now we're going to delete one of these markers by reducing the number of text keys to 4. You reload, as you see, the very last marker got deleted. Call this blend in 1. Call this blend out 1. So the animation will start and stop immediately. And now, oh, and we want this probably to be at 1. I could probably this to be 0.4. Okay, now that blend in and blend out are, now that the sound effect is in between them, I hope it'll work now. Yeah, as you can see, since we set blend in and blend out to 1 and 1, it starts and stops basically immediately. And I don't know why the sound effect's still not playing, but I'm sure the answer will come to me in the comments section or something. But yeah, that's the basics. I think I've gone over basically everything. Edit, markers, Nifskope. There's only one more thing I need to warn people about. Never move the weapon bone. It's in its default position, of course. You might expect that the weapon will just remain in the hand, right? That's what you'd expect. But no. If you move the weapon bone, that is to say, if you have a weapon channel at all, this is what's going to happen. Hang on a second. Yeah, weapon does that now. I'm not even sure why that. I'm not sure why that happens. But to fix that, it's really easy. Just delete the weapon channel, and yeah, it'll go back to normal. And you'd expect that the weapon would just remain in the hand, right?
You know, just translate a little bit. It wouldn't like fly like magic.
Yeah, I don't really know why that happens. But to do that, just delete the weapon bone. Here's another issue you might have. For sometimes, this will get renamed. Like, I'm not even really sure why or how. But if that gets renamed, this right here, Nif Name, what's it called?
The long name.
Nif Long Name. If that gets renamed, bad things will happen. And I'll show you the bad things that happen. We're just going to rename a bunch of them to the Nif Long Name. And we're just going to see what happens. Yeah, bad things are happening. As you can see, bad things. To fix it, as you can see, yeah, just, I don't know why the bad things happen. But to fix the bad things, it's easy. You don't have to rename them to their original bone name. Just delete it. Just delete it, and things will go back to normal, I think. So just delete the long name. So if you export something and your character is twitching around, or some weird shit is happening, some weird unintentional shit, just go to the Nif Long Name and delete it. Okay, it went back to normal. Yeah, so if you're ever having a problem, if your character's like stretching out his limbs or he's got spider fingers, that's a very common one. If your character has spider fingers, just rename the Nif Long Name to nothing. Right now, his knees are moving in a parabolic way, or like a smooth way. But if you want it to be more linear, and I think that now it's more linear. But I don't think that keyframes are tagged as smooth, in this case Bezier, in New Vegas. I think they're all linear. So this might have unintended consequences. You can make the interpolation type any type you want, but it may look different in the engine. That's all I'm going to say. In addition to him moving his knees up and down, we're also going to move his hips. His hips, you may rotate. You can rotate his hips any direction you like, and you won't fuck things up. Just don't rotate this one. Don't rotate that one. So yeah, rotate his hips. We're going to make we'll make him start way up here, and we'll just see what happens. Make him start way up here. Then on frame 3, he'll be right here. And then he's just going to remain there for the rest of the time. My theory is there's two things that can happen if he starts way up there. It might be rendered in such a way that he starts here and then goes down, or it might be that he starts up here and then goes down to normal foot level. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm learning things as I'm describing them. So, oh, and if you want to make the animation longer without individually moving the keyframes, I mean, you could do this if you really wanted to. Something simple you can do is just press A to select all of them, and then press the S button, and you can sensibly make it longer, and it'll retain most of the same things. Yeah, look at the feet. Yeah, that's foot IK. It'll have unintentional consequences, and I'll show you exactly what those consequences are if you try to make your character roll. When you're making a roll in Blender.
Oh, I hate it.
Yep. Watch this.
It's terrible.
It's quaternion. It's adopting so we just tried to make it such that he does a complete roll, but wait a minute. What the hell is that? But I'll tell you what. I think New Vegas will just interpolate between here and here like we were intending to. Well, because Gamebryo and Blender treat keyframes just a little bit differently. So just keep that in mind.
Hello.
Your animation in Blender might be different. Or it could be completely fucked up. Okay. What's the issue here, buddy? What did I do wrong? We're learning as we go, I guess. I know what's happening. I know what's fucking happening. This bullshit. It's bullshit. Of course, this is your issue right here. So, when you export shit, so, yeah. Go It's just another thing you have to remember. Go into Nifskope and make sure start time and stop time are actually what you intended. That's just another thing you need to keep an eye on. Stop time is not 0.5 seconds. That would be here. This is where the animation's stopping. And you know why? It's because of this fucking node. Why is that happening? The question is, why is that happening? Let's go into our markers and look at our marker data. For some reason, when Blender exports the marker data, the very last marker will denote where the end of the animation is. But we don't want the end of the animation to be 0.5 seconds. We want it to be about 2 seconds. The solution is simple. Just make the start time 2 seconds. Hopefully that won't cause issues. So this is the consequence of not having your stuff organized. Keyframes are treated differently in New Vegas. Yep, he does almost a... Oh, well, my game crashed. And I think I know why. Yes. If you make keyframes that are not consistent with where the end markers are, for example, if you make your end marker here, your game will crash. If the keyframe data, if the last keyframe isn't where the end marker is, your game will crash. So just keep that in mind. And when you delete the blend in and blend out nodes, it's okay because the game defaults to blend out 5. So yeah, we're just gonna delete everything except for start and end. Now hopefully, yeah, just another thing you need to keep track of. Make sure the last keyframe end marker is and they correspond to stop time. And that stop time, remember, stop time is right there. So remember that stop time, the last keyframe, which you can't see right now, and the end marker need to be all the same. Don't crash. Okay, didn't crash. Alright, good. As you can see, he seems to do a complete somersault in the engine, even though in Blender he has an unintended animation. Like I said, it's just because Blender and New Vegas treats keyframes just a little bit differently. What's an animation you guys have been needing but couldn't make? Like something simple.
I don't know. I mean, I'm really just waiting on the gun food too.
There you go.
I want more rolls and I want more Mad Max crazy awesomeness.
Yeah, well, enemies will also be able to do that too. So,
oh, for real?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, please, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm probably gonna make it a lot more subdued though, and like a lot more sensible, more realistic, the way that they roll around. You might be wondering why these are orange. And Drax, you probably already know why they're orange. But the reason they're orange is because we made them compatible with inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics is what you're seeing right now. Move one bone to move many bones, but beware, it can have unintended consequences if you don't move the bones intelligently. Now, most people use poles for this. I'm a caveman, and I decided I'm not going to. Hands also have inverse kinematics on them. Very useful. IK. We're going to delete IK. No IK here. So now, these bones don't have inverse kinematics, which is sad. But you can always adjust them by clicking on the bone and pressing the R key. When you press the R key, you can rotate the bone around the perpendicular axis of where the camera's moving. Or, if you really want to be precise, you can rotate a bone around the X, Y, or Z axis by pressing R, then holding the middle mouse button, and then selecting whichever axis of rotation you want to select. So remember, R, middle mouse button, and then just select the axis of rotation that you prefer. So we're going to add inverse kinematics, which is simple. Just go to bone constraints and select, where is it? Inverse kinematics, that's the one you want. So now it has inverse kinematics, but it's not acting sensibly. So we're going to make the chain length 2, and I think that's all you need to do. Oh, also unmark use tail, and yeah, you got it. So having keyframes so far apart is bad. You don't want to have keyframes this far apart. It's not very good. The animation may work correctly, but it might not. So I'm going to show you a nifty little tool. In order to make keyframes in between these two major keyframes, all you got to do is go to Pose in your 3D view, go to Animation, go to Bake Action, select all of these except for Clean Curves. That's just the way it was taught to me. I don't really know what this stuff does. But, oh, we only selected foot. That's okay. We'll just select all of them. But IK got removed. See, now these foot bones got sent back to gray. They were orange before, but now they're gray. So we accidentally removed inverse kinematics. But that's easy to fix. Just undo the bake action. Go back to animation, bake action. And clear constraints, you want that to be off. So now your constraints won't be cleared. It'll remain IK. Yay! Remember that these bone constraints don't do anything in the new Vegas engine. In fact, they don't get exported at all. So yeah, you're not gonna have like IK functionality in your KF file. Yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong in the exporting process, but once you get all this shit out of the way, it can be relatively simple. Half of this lesson is showing you what not to do, because there's a lot that can go wrong when you're exporting new Vegas animations.